Hello, I'm Ricky R. Levon, author of the book Work for the Lord is With You. This video will give insight into the first 4 questions of Lesson 4. The reason behind this is because it covers the first verse from Haggai chapter 1. This is only meant to provide a brief understanding. Obviously, when it comes to personal only questions, you can make that assessment. Please enjoy. Make sure to follow along with the pen and paper, or if you have a copy of the book. Question 1 says, earlier in this book we've studied the importance of working hard and how God commanded his people to rebuild the temple and the city. After the Lord's people went back to Jerusalem, who was the king of the Persians, and what prophet did God decide to use as a spokesperson? And the answer came from Haggai chapter 1 verse 1. And the answer, the king at this time was Darius, and God sent a word through Haggai to speak to Shealtiel, the governor of Judah, and Joshua, the high priest. Question 2. The Lord made a call for his people to return during the reign of King Cyrus officially. Nevertheless, approximately 8 to 10 years later, the Lord spoke with his people. For context, read the scriptures below and list the issues in Daniel's prayer. This is found in Daniel chapter 9 verses 1 through 19. Now obviously there is a lot there, so you can only really just summarize some of this information. But Daniel's prayer came in the first year of King Darius. Meanwhile, the message from Haggai was in his second. I'm saying that first just for context. Now Daniel was concerned for people's sins and them not listening to the people God would also send. For example, some of the prophets and leaders. Now also, Daniel mentioned how the people were disloyal, and this caused them to be scattered amongst other nations, or basically exiled from home. Now Daniel realized that God's compassion, despite the people not obeying the Lord, was still there. Daniel was honest and laid out a variety of issues that the people had committed. Still, Daniel prayed for the nation and relied on God's compassion to bless and heal them. Question 3. Sometimes we often view the church or a religious organization as perfect in modern day society. However, there can be difficulties even within a group of people focusing on loving the Lord. How can the prayer of Daniel, as read from question 2, apply to aspects of the modern day church and society? Now Daniel's prayer, this is the answer. Daniel's prayer shows something that is very important. We have to be honest with our shortcomings. Often we prefer to blame other people, inanimate objects, or random circumstances for our issues. Daniel would have none of that. He knew they were in this situation because of their actions. We, not only as individuals but as a church as well, have to do the same. Be honest with God. List out your shortcomings in an effort to change. Blaming someone else or blaming another organization doesn't means that you're only putting off the true healing and getting to the next step that God desires. Also, another aspect of Daniel's prayer is that we can rely on is God's compassion. How awesome is it that we can navigate through life knowing that God is compassionate towards us? Daniel called on the compassion of God and asked the Lord to forgive and help his people. We can all do the same thing. Go to God, knowing that he's compassionate and also that he is loving and wants you to live your best possible life. God knows what you need, so use him. This not only goes for an individual but for churches as well. Make sure you do what you can and go to the Lord. Question 4. On a personal level, what are issues, problems, addictions, or sins do you want to ask God for help? Now, in your copy of your book or notepad, write out some of the issues or problems that is personal to you. For this section, I wouldn't necessarily read this out loud to everyone else in a class setting. This is really between you and God. This is so that way you have an opportunity to, in written word, write out to God what you are truly feeling. Now, if you're a teacher, stress to the class for them to be honest, but to also, of course, keep it personal between them and the Lord. I don't want anyone to be able to recite or to say some of their issues or problems to a group of people who may or may not actually have their best interest in mind. It would be nice, because you never know, you might be able to get someone who can help you, who can be able to lead you to overcome something. But of course, as usual, we also know that it could also lead to other people using this against you and trying to tear you down or maybe pull you away from doing something else. So because of that, I would almost say don't share, but make sure you definitely have that strong communication with God. But if you can trust someone and you're doing this particular lesson with them, then go ahead and be honest with each other, so that way you can be able to encourage, uplift, and bless each other. Well, that's all for this part. Make sure to listen to part 2 for more insight into lesson 4. Thank you so much for your support, and have a blessed day.